Sorry for that rude introduction through the Wi-Fi challenge. So I'd like to, my essay is already looking for me on your behalf. So I'd like to thank Oxbridge very, very much for inviting me, especially my dearest auntie, Mrs. Ogunsoya. And doing this morning was especially for her, because I'm a very restless person. I'm better standing and talking to an audience than sitting in front of the computer. It's not as exciting for me. So I've tried to say no to as many as I could, but she's definitely not one I was going to say no to. So here we are. So I hope we're able to communicate one way or the other. Anyhow, this morning, look, I have an 18-year-old son, and yesterday night I asked him that if I had to talk to you about the future, now what would you like me to say? And he promised to send me a few stuff. So he sent me a few notes this morning. So thank you to Olamide, my son, for his help. But the first thing I'd like to do is to congratulate all of you, especially the 18-year-olds who are supposedly finishing one stage of their lives to go on to another, but in very unusual circumstances, because many didn't have the exams they were looking forward to, and all the graduation ceremony and all the plans for after-school trips and all of that, everything got aborted because life happened. And all of a sudden, you've all realized that you've had to try and adjust to something you never imagined before. Well, welcome to the real world, because that really is sometimes how the world works. We can make the best plans, but beyond our known plans, we must always be prepared to respond to unplanned situations. And what that basically tells you is you do the best that you can at every stage that you can, because in order to achieve the most out of your life, you do need more than what you can give it at every point in time, which is why you're not doing yourself any major service if you don't even take hold of the ones that you have control over, because there's still enough of those things that you do not have control over. But whatever you've done up till this moment, no matter what your age is, whether it's your school exams or the external exams that you couldn't take, but yet you have to move forward with your life, I want to congratulate you for your successes so far, whether it's in sports, whether it's in different social positions or social challenges, or whether it is in your artistic talents and how you have expressed yourself. In every way that you have displayed your gifts and your talents, I want to congratulate you for that and to ask you never to undermine any of your own gifts. Do not consider the person in your class who was excellent at physics or who got 5 prizes at the last prize giving day for physics, chemistry, maths, additional maths, and all of that to be better than you. Or someone who got all the politics, economics, and this and that to be better than you. Why is that important? Because your lives are different. Each individual was born with different sets of talents And those talents will be expressed in different ways across different seasons of life. And what is important is that you are able to be the best of you. I found too many children, or too many people, adults, children, are put under pressure by other people's lives because we're always trying to either compare ourselves, or others are comparing us with other people. But that's a mistake, because you're good at many things that somebody else who is very good at something else is not good at. So your business is to find out what you are good at, to accept your strengths and to celebrate it, to own your talents and never apologize for it, to be clear about the things that you don't do well. Look, I'm a business person. I've spent the last 31 years building a manufacturing group. But as good as I am with my business, I hate operations. How do you run a successful business group without the operational backbone? I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love the process of the idea. So the ideation is fun for me. Building the idea into a realistic, sustainable business is the challenge that I thrive on. Executing it to see it come alive is fun. But once it becomes a stable running business and you just need to do things regularly, consistently, monotonously, I lose interest. That's me. Somebody else's strength is in the operations that I hate. So what does that tell me? I need someone with that strength to combine with my own strength of getting it started in order to build businesses that would survive for the long term. And if my businesses have survived this long, for 31 years, it's simply because I have had the humility to accept my own strengths, but also accept my own weaknesses and not punish myself for the things I'm not good at or compare myself with anybody, but apply myself to be the best at my own strengths and pay for the other service. So you need to have a sense of you, who you are, where you want to go. You're never too young to have a sense of it. You might not know what that sense really will interpret to be. You might just have a sense of the kind of things you'd want out of your life. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I would like you to have a pen and paper and write some things down. Why do I want you to write it down? Because whatever you write down as I asked you the questions will not be your final answer. It'll be your first thoughts about the question. But when we're done with this event, and whenever, you can always go back to what you wrote, to look at the question again, and to write down your answers. And you can always change the answer as you want, and review it and update it and keep those notes, because you would find that along your journey of life, there would be many reasons. There will be many reasons to revisit those notes, and you will see that your answers can keep changing along the line. So my first question And don't dismiss any of these questions because, you know, I know that you're 15, you're 16, you're 17, you're 18. You know, life seems endless to you, and you're not thinking maybe so far ahead in many ways. But you know, sometimes if you're a dreamer like I am, it's actually good to give yourself the luxury of looking, you know, at the end game. Because in between a lot will happen, but having a sense of the end game allows you to sort of guide your decisions along the way in terms of what you do. Because the totality of your life is a summation of your actions and your decisions along your journey of life. Every action has a consequence. Every single action has a consequence. If you play around with boys in some way right now, even with the best of protection, you can get pregnant. And you might get pregnant because it's the first time. You might not even realize that you're pregnant. It might be too late. And therefore, even if you've always thought, oh yeah, I can have an abortion, then you realize that you can't because maybe your medical situation will not permit it because it could cost you your life. And then all of a sudden, there's a program on TLC that shows teenage pregnant parents. It's an American program, a lot of young high school kids that have found themselves pregnant. And all of a sudden, their life is totally different from whatever it is that they imagined that it would be. Because now they're 16, they're 15, and they're about to be parents. But that's a consequence of an action or a decision that was made along the line. If you have exams and you do not apply yourself to the best of your ability to be able to do the best that you can. And this is all I ever ask. This is what I have 3 sons. My first is 28, my second is 25. And like I said earlier, my baby is 18. And what I always say to my kids is, look, all I want is the best of you. I don't want the best of somebody else in you. I want the best of you. So just give me your best with any exam. And that's fine by me. If what your best gives are B's, then I know that you have applied the best of you to achieve that. And if there's any way I can support you to move the B's to A, then that would be my responsibility as a parent to give you the additional tool that will help you to get there. But it doesn't matter what tool I'm willing to give you if you as a person isn't committed to applying yourself to achieve the best of what you're able to. So when I talk about your actions being consequential in terms of what your life becomes, it's simply because you also have responsibility for that and you must own it. You're never too young to own what your life would be. Because from your first day at school, you started having responsibilities. Your parents have a part, and all they can do is find you the best school they can afford, support you in your learning, but the learning is yours. When the exams come, it doesn't matter how supportive your parents are, they cannot sit in the exam room with you. You're going to have to deliver on the exam all by yourself. And the results you get at the end, as parents, we can celebrate and be excited when you get good grades, but they're your grades, nobody else's grades. They're all yours, whether they're great or they're bad, they're yours. It's written under your name. The certificate is yours and nobody else's. So we actually start owning things much earlier than we think. So it's of no value if the responsibility is there, but we don't take charge of it and become intentional, because by not paying attention to things that we're already responsible for and accountable for, we make ourselves vulnerable. Because at the point when we then decide, oh gosh, time is going, this is how old I am now, I do need to face things a bit more seriously. Sometimes we already have so much baggage, it's difficult to go back, even though there's always a second chance in life. And whatever mistakes we've made in the past should not stop us from being able to take hold of our future. So my first question is, I want you to write down how you would like your life to be, what you would like the story of your life to be at the end of it. Let's assume you're 80 years old today, and you have to look back. And I'm sure some of you are laughing or smiling and wondering, 80, because it just sounds like this age that is never going to come near you. Well, we thought so too. Now I'm 57, and I can imagine myself at 18. Even 57 sounded ancient. You know, it just sounded like this age that was never going to come close to you. But life is lived on a day-by-day basis. And as long as one day can pass into the next day, then you're aging slowly but surely. And there's no number that is impossible for you to get to. So you will get to 80. By the grace of God, all of you will live long and you will live well. But whether it's 70 or it's 80 or it's even 60, which is retirement age in most organizations, the question to ask is, when you get to that point, what kind of story would you like to read about your life? Looking back, what would you like to see? Why am I asking you that question now? Because if you're 15, you're 16, you're 17, you're 18, you have a chance to walk the journey of your life to achieve the end goal. It might not be the exact thing that you envisioned at the beginning, but having a vision of it helps you to achieve the substance of whatever you're envisioning. You might surpass all of it, but realize that okay, let me give you an example of myself. I always felt as a teenager that I wanted to change the world. And at a point in my life, I thought, wow, you know, the only way you can be that, I was very politically aware, and I used to follow the politics of Nigeria and get excited over, you know, what they were saying, what they wanted to do, who the candidates were. I didn't like regional candidates. I had a very high interest in people that had a national agenda. Even at 17, 16, 17, 18, I couldn't even vote then, if I remember very well. You know, and I always said to myself, I'm going to become the president of Nigeria so that I could make it as I really would like it to be. That was a teenager's way of interpreting, finding a way to make Nigeria what I envisioned it to be. I've gone on to pursue my life. I studied chemistry in university, moved on to try to become a chartered accountant by working at Akintola Williams & Co., which is now Deloitte, wanting to become chartered. When I got into it, I realized that I didn't like auditing at all. It was too boring for me. I'm a very restless human being. And it didn't cut it for me. But before I got in, I thought it was what I wanted to do, because I wanted to become chartered and work in a bank. So I thought. But when I got into it, I realized that it just didn't fit my personality, my restlessness. And wanted to do other things with my life. And then I left. And to keep myself busy, the first job I got 1 week after my youth service was in a furniture manufacturing company. I took that job just to keep myself busy. And also I didn't want to be asking my parents for money. I felt now I was a graduate, I'd done youth service. Hey, I was a big girl. You know, it's now time to be a bit independent. So I took the job to keep myself busy, and I was still trying to get a job in a bank. But I lasted only 3.5 months in that company. But within that period, I realized that when I was going into university, and one of my options, my interest was to study architecture. In working in that furniture company, I realized all that creative part of me that made me have interest in architecture came alive. And I loved what I was doing there, but I didn't like the company. I didn't like their value system as a company. And about 3.5 months after, I thought to myself in my 20s, I thought, you know what? I can do what they do. I can produce furniture. I can build a furniture company, but I can do it with the right value system. And I left the company and I started my own company. I was 25 going, it was just before my 26th birthday. And I did all the groundwork, and the company started just a week after my 26th birthday. It's 31 years since I started that company. I have in that period built multiple companies within the furniture manufacturing sector and security systems. And whilst doing that and doing it, applying myself to do it the best way I could, gaining additional knowledge, going back to school, getting an MBA, going back to school, gaining knowledge all along the line. Every year I went back to school, getting one course or the other, just trying to improve myself so I could serve my business better. I was learning a lot of stuff, but other people were also watching. And at a point in time, I started getting invitations to share what I knew as a director on boards of other companies. And that's how my corporate career started. Not because that was the plan, but I responded to my own opportunities and my situation the best way I could. Don't forget, I said I studied chemistry. Even the chemistry, I remember I tried to leave the chemistry. I wanted to change to law. And then at a point, I had a journey of my own, discovering myself in different ways. But I had a rule: whatever my hands found to do, I did well. I applied myself the best I could to what I had to work with at each point in time. And every knowledge I gained, every experience that I gained in every situation became value added for me. Why is that important? In the course of my journey to now, I have met many people that I met at different stages along the journey of my life, from secondary school to university, to doing business, either serving the companies where they worked, or doing work for them, or interacting with other people that they knew. And I realized that each of those people had a voice concerning me at one point or the other. What does that tell you? That you're already leaving a trail that will impact your future. That every action that you take now and every person that you interact with now will speak for you or speak against you in life at some point or the other. Which is why when I say that your actions are consequential, they will add up to what the totality of your life will be. And that will build up towards that end story at 60, at 70, or at 80. So if you can take the time right now to write down how you would like to be seen, what you would like to have done with your life by the time you're 60, you're 70, you're 80. I'm then going to ask you other questions that will determine, so what steps do you need to take from your 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old self that will lead you towards being able to achieve your 60, 70, 80-year-old self? Even though the journey isn't clear, but the substance and the principle will remain. Even though you will make many discoveries and variations, and you would have to be flexible along the route of your life towards that 60, 70, 80-year-old self, but that goal you set will guide your decisions. You will know that if you want to be a respected leader of any sort in the future, you will not walk with criminal intent. That your credibility, your integrity, and your character will be important. Never mind the fact that you have enough bad examples of people who occupy big offices that you know do not have those things. Don't determine your life by others. Remember that. What is right is right. What is wrong is wrong. Some people might get away with doing the wrong thing for a long time, but there will be a tipping point when everything comes together and everybody gets what they deserve. Let's take a current situation, a current issue. Look at the George Floyd, is that his name? Yes, George Floyd situation. The guy who knelt on his neck has had a record over his 20-year period of aggressive or racist actions to other people. There are at least about 8 incidences on his record. But he's done it in the past, and at every point, he got away with it and still remained in the police force. So to him, on the day of kneeling on George Floyd, it was one more thing to do and get away with. Except he had no power to know that the time and the season had changed. And that this was going to be the one more that would be the tipping point and change or influence or cause so much trouble across the whole world. But he had no way of knowing that. But that's what's happened. So now he's found himself behind bars, waiting to go through a criminal proceeding, and hopefully justice will be done. What is my point I'm trying to make from that? Is that it doesn't matter if others do things wrong and you see them every day. You owe it to yourself to do what you know is right to do, and to have the courage of conviction to stand up and speak up for what is right over time. And sometimes you would be a lone voice. That's fine too. There's so much herd mentality in your generation, with all due apologies. But everybody looks like the other. The hairstyles are exactly the same. The look and everybody is trying to be the other person. I don't think you can ever be the best copy of somebody else's original form. All you can be is the best of the original you. And that's what you should seek to be. Be comfortable in your dark skin. Be comfortable in your short hair. Be comfortable in your K-legs if you have one. If there's no medical way to correct it, then enjoy it and be proud of it. Make fun of yourself so it becomes difficult for others to make fun of you. Be comfortable in what you're good at and own it. And never apologize for who you are or for what you have, but don't apologize for what you don't have as well. Oh, we don't have this. If you live in a one-bedroom apartment, be yourself. If anybody will not be your friend because that's where you are right now, that's their loss. Because who you are will help you as you walk the best of it to become the best of you in the future. And the people that will not talk to you now will be begging to be your friends when you become the best of you. So don't be part of the crowd. Be comfortable to stand out in the crowd as you. And one thing is, once you are comfortable with you, you will attract the right people who will celebrate who you are with you and help you to walk your journey. It's too burdensome to be pretending to be somebody else. It's too burdensome to be living a fake life. It's too burdensome to lie about your family. It's too tedious to be trying to impress other people. I have no, I've heard some people over time say that they think I'm this successful in my life because I come from a home with golden spoon. That maybe my parents are wealthy and all of that. And I never mince words in saying that, no, I'm not. I come from a middle-class family. And many Nigerian families are middle-class families. I grew up with my grandmother raised me because my parents were in England at school. And my dad had gone when my mom was pregnant with me. And my mom left before I was a year old to join her husband. And they didn't want to take a little baby to a foreign land that they were just going to settle in. So they left me with my grandmother, which has turned out to be an asset because I learned a lot of old wisdom. And I have a lot of elderly friends in my business life, and people always say it's because, I was raised by my grandmother, and so I walk with the wisdom of old, and I've learned to respect and to honor people that are older than me, and I can relate with people in that age group very comfortably. So everything in our life has a value that imparts towards our future, which is why we shouldn't waste time pretending to be somebody else. We should be comfortable in who we are. And my grandmother took care of me until my parents came back from England. In between, when my parents didn't want me to become a grandma's child in my family house, they sent me to a nursery boarding school in Ibadan. I was only about 4 or 5 years old. My friends say to me right now, that's why I'm very, very independent-minded. Because at a very early age, my brother and I were in a boarding school in Ibadan. And imagine a 5-year-old in a boarding school. But we were. And it was when my parents came back that we then went back to be with my parents and picked it up from there. So are there things that I learned along the path of life? I learned humility. I learned contentment. I think my first introduction to business would have been in my grandmother's little shop. She had a little store on the main street of my family house in Ibadan, where she sold salt. And I used to love to just sit there and, trade. If people wanted to buy something, give them what they wanted to buy and collect the money for my grandmother. And he sort of used to excite me. So who knew that it was my first training for business in future? So what's the point I'm trying to make with that? That every part of your life means something. And so celebrate it, embrace it, be yourself. Don't make anybody force you into creating a non-existing persona or trying to impress other people with falsehood, because eventually they will find out the truth, and that's when they will make fun of you. And you will even feel worse. If you don't want to be my friend because I don't live in a mansion, too bad for you, because I will build my mansion later. Now, the thing is, what you have now doesn't matter. It's what you make of your life in the future that counts. Because you don't have anything to do with where you are born, who your parents are. That is something outside of your control. But you have something to do with what you make of your life, what you do with it, how you apply yourself to your education, how you make the right choices when you're faced with it, how you choose the right friends, the friends who have the capacity to hold your hand, to help you think right, to help you do the right things. Don't want to be with the popular girls just because they're popular. You can be with the popular girls who are popular for being smart, for doing the right things, for being academically strong, for having the capacity to enhance your own performance in your academics, if their values match yours. And they would be glad, they will celebrate you as a friend, and you will not have to serve them as a friend. Because nobody can respect you except you respect yourself. And having respect for yourself comes from celebrating who you are, accepting your strengths, celebrating it, embracing it, accepting what you're not good at. I'm not good at this. If I can learn it, I will. If I can't, end of story. I will play with my own strengths. You know, one of my rules in life is I never play to my weaknesses. I play to my strength. I outsource my weaknesses. I find other people who have strengths in my weaknesses. And if I need those weaknesses to be stronger, then I work with them in partnership, which is why you must learn to respect other people. You must treat other people right and don't look down at anybody. It's your biggest lesson you must take away from today. Respect other human beings, and I don't care who their father is or their mother is. I didn't say respect other human beings that are from rich homes, or respect other human beings that have all the funky clothes or the fancy shoes, that travel abroad every summer or do this or that. No. Respect every other human being, including the house helps in your house, the driver, the security guard. Why? People's lives are mobile. People change status every day, including you. Life happens to people. I know people that when we were young used to live in Ikoyi because their parents worked for government. So they had official houses, lived in Ikoyi for many, 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 many years. And then all of a sudden, their father, who is a permanent secretary or whatever in government, suddenly had to retire. But in the comfort of living in official house, had not planned as well. And then all of a sudden, they moved from Ikoyi straight to another end of the mainland in houses they could afford that they've built over the period. And some children's mind struggles with that. Why? The reality is life happens. Nobody's station in life is permanent. Treating people right will become an asset. I've had a security man, in fact, two in my house, who was working as our security guard from a security company, but who apparently was taking evening classes or weekend classes and was taking exams and eventually got admission into a university. He couldn't really afford it, but when we discovered that, we decided it was something commendable and said to him, okay, go, we'll pay for you throughout the university so you can have that education. As far as I know, the two people involved have graduated and they're working. Who knows where they'll turn up tomorrow? Depending on how we have treated them or how our children have treated them, if they show up somewhere tomorrow, it might be our children who need them. What does that tell you? Treat every human being like they're important because they are. People are extremely mobile. They move, they change station in life. And relationships will make a way for you in many ways. So learn to be open-minded, to show people respect, to treat people with dignity and honor, and to help people where you can. You're leaving a trail of your personality, and when it counts, those people will speak for you or speak against you based on how they have encountered you. That includes your teachers, your fellow students, your neighbors, people around your area, just life. When everybody around you is being nasty, be the kind one. It will count for you somewhere and you will see. I'm not sure how far gone I have gone with your time, but I'll just run through a few more of the questions I want you to. So how would you like to finish your life, your 60, your 70, your 80-year-old self? Write it down. What are the steps for you to get there? Map it out, but understand that you need flexibility in life. That's what you map out. You might need to adjust as life unfolds and reveals itself. But having that sense of what you want to do sort of guides your options and the decisions you make. Then think, what can disrupt it? What can disrupt your plan? What are your proactive situations? Oh, I want to work in Goldman Sachs tomorrow. Okay, great for you. What must you do? You need at least a 2-1 in order to be competitive. It doesn't matter what degree. They generally, investment banking is about all mindsets and options, but you need certain skills. So in choosing your university degree or your university options, or in determining how hard you need to work in order to make the right grade, that becomes important if your goal is to work in certain industry or in certain, find out all you need to know about where you want to go, but also have a sense of the times and the seasons. By about the year 2030 or so, 50% of the jobs in the market will be digital based. So you might be the art student now. You don't all need to be engineers, but as many people as can get into STEM should, if you have the capacity. But as I say, even though the world will be highly digitalized, well, the people in the digital world will still eat, will still wear clothes, they will still be serviced by different people in different areas. So there'll be more than enough non-digital careers as well. But the thing to know is you must understand your own time and your season. And you have to be responsible for that as well. Don't wait for your parents, because your parents might have a sense of what they want you to do, but you have a sense of you. You know what you're thinking. You know what your desires are. You know what your dreams are. Your parents cannot dream for you. They can dream with you, but you must first have your dream and they can support that dream to help you to bring it to fruition. But you must first have a sense and a vision of where you want to go, and you must take responsibility for preparing for it. So if there's an area you want to go to now, start exploring. Start learning the basics. Start seeking knowledge about it. Start finding out how you can get to where you want to go. What have you learned from COVID's impact on the world? Is that life is a gift. Is that the best of plans can be totally disrupted by unplanned events, which is why you need to be a versatile human being, and you must have strength, emotional strength and support. So build your relationship with God. I know a lot of you still think your parents are fussy about that, but you know, we're speaking out of our journey of life. When everything is shaky, you need something to hold on to. And it gives you substance that helps you to stand. It's how a lot of parents have survived up to this moment. You look at your parents and sometimes look around you. There are parents who have lost children. There are parents who have had serious medical issues. There are parents who have lost money, who have lost businesses. There are parents who have had some severe, big life challenges. And you see them still try to pull through for you and for themselves. A lot of times, the strength to move forward comes from their relationship with God, but also their relationships with people. Having the right people around you to hold your hand when you're weak is important. So pay attention to who your friends are. That's really key. And it would affect the rest of your life. How you determine the kind of people that you lean on, the kind of people that you allow to influence you. Your influencers in life are important. If you have the wrong kinds of friends around you, when you're not sure what to do, they will say the wrong things to you and lead you in the wrong way. And at that point, you don't have the chance to choose new friends for your trying situation. It's about the friends you've already chosen who are your support system. So pay attention. If you see people that you're leaning on, that the voices that you will hear when you have troubles will not be the kind of voices that will support your 60, 70-year-old vision. Pull back. You know, if you're a Christian, the Bible says, "Oh, no man, nothing but love," which means you should be able to say hello to everyone. That's right. But everyone should not have the power of influencing your life. Everyone should not be the one that you share your life situation with and ask for advice. Now, you know, sorry, I'm a Christian and I always draw from that. And something else the Bible says is that in the multitude of counsel, there is safety, which means that counsel is good. Your friends can counsel you, your parents can counsel you, your aunties can counsel you, but the decision concerning your life is yours. And you must be able to make the right decision because you're thinking right, because you have certain parameters to measure it against. And I keep saying you're never too young to take responsibility, because from the day you started school, you started taking responsibility for your results and for your actions. That's why you get punished when you do things wrong. Why? Because you are considered responsible for your action. It just begins to scale up a bit more as you get older. So don't think, "Oh, I'm a child." No, 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 no. You're a child with responsibilities and you're a child with liabilities. And you must build a system around you that helps you to weather the challenging times. What part do you play in achieving the future that you seek? And what plan do you think others play? I believe those are things I've already pointed to you. You have the ultimate responsibility for whatever plan you have for your life, because no matter the help everybody else offers you along the line, the choice to say yes or no to any offer, the choice to act on it effectively. I can open a door for you to enter a room, but I can't keep you in that room. So even if your uncle is the president, it can send you to someone to get a job. They might even give you the job because of your uncle, but your uncle is not going to come and sit at your desk to do the job. You're going to have to deliver on the job, and it's what you do in that place that will determine if you get promoted or not. So you are responsible for the actions you will take in life that will determine where you get to. What courses you study in university, all yours. The options, when you have elective options, based on where you want to go, you know why you choose one over the other. To spend time studying rather than partying, that would be your choice. Doesn't mean you shouldn't party. It just means you must know what time is partying time and what time is reading time. Because especially for universities, there are no house mistresses, no house masters, no teachers chasing you up and down. You haven't done your work. You have to self-manage. And learning to self-manage successfully means that you have great discipline and you have a sense of where you're going, and you will caution yourself to stay focused on that so that you do not allow other people to steal your time and to steal your future from you. If your friends, when they are bored, want to have a chat, and the time they call you for a chat is when you should be studying, then you're a fool if you let somebody else use your time for their convenience. You have the right to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't chat right now. According to my schedule for the day, right now I need to do some work. When I finish working about 2-3 hours, I can call you. Take charge of your own life. Be intentional about your life. Know why you want to study one course as opposed to the other. Know why you want to be friends with this person and not the other. Know why you want to spend your summer doing additional programs or a short-term course or internship or this or that. Know why you're not an engineer, but coding can be useful in the future. And there's a coding for fools going on training. You don't mind being called a fool at this moment, because when you become a coding star, we'll see who the fool is now. And learning to plan for your future in terms of relationships and knowing that everything has a consequence. As I said at the beginning, I think my time is up. I'll take a break now and then we can go on. Thank you very much. I hope I've helped you in some way. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that, Matt. That was fantastic. Honestly, I can't even explain enough, or thank you enough for all the wisdom and all the gems that you've shared with us today. I know that everyone on this platform across age groups has definitely benefited immensely from you today. So we just have a few questions here. I've also prepared some myself, and then I'll take some from the rest of the members of, rest of people on the platform today. So my first question is, a lot of your wisdom that you've shared over the years has focused immensely on character building, integrity, and a sense of individuality, as you have maintained that you have never for once regretted choosing to fight to defend the things that you count as important. So in Nigeria, or in the Nigeria of today, where there's a lot of emphasis placed on YOLO, you only live once, and FOMO, the fear of missing out, and all the pressure that comes with that, what would be your advice on maintaining these core values that you have shared for so long over the years?
Thank you very much. I mean, whether it's YOLO or FOLO or whichever one, I'm not used to those slangs, but I'll try. it's the reality is you have the right to make your own choices in life, and you decide what is important to you. And you must also realize that you only live once. Yeah, you live once in the moment, but you don't control all moments. So if you do the wrong thing in just living once or living the moment, whatever you do has consequences. So you only live once and you steal. What do you become? A thief. And then tomorrow you show up somewhere and you need a job. Someone who was there when you stole will remember. And that person could speak against you and say, that guy, he's sharp, he's smart, but you can't trust him. When we were in university, she used to steal everybody's jewelry, watches, money, and stuff like that. A bad name you can't wash away with Omo. It's not something you just wipe with your eraser. It doesn't work that way. You live in a community, people remember things. Why do you think when, you go home and you go home with a friend and you say to your parents sometimes, oh, meet my friend. And they're like, oh, what's your name? Oh, okay. And you say, assuming you say, oh, my name is this Awosika. And the person says, oh, which Awosika is yours? What do you think your parents are trying to do? They're tracing, let's put it that way, using current term for all this COVID tracing matter. They're tracing, they're trying to get to your specific family. Why do you think they want to do that? It's to know the values of that home. Why? So they can have a sense of the people you're interacting with. Why? Because they know that the people you're interacting with will influence you. When you go to work somewhere, sometimes you feel like you've had a good interview. Ask people that have gone to look for work. And all of a sudden, you just don't hear back from them. Why? Sometimes someone in that organization or someone in position of power there. I'll give you an example. Somebody is applying for a job somewhere, and from a large pool, the person was shortlisted as part of the person. And a few days ago, the owner of that company called me and said to me, I have 3 names that's been shortlisted for me by the HR company recruiting for me. And one of them, there's a reference there that has a link to you. I want to know, before they even bring the person for interview, I want to know if I should be talking to the person or not. Unfortunately, this was a situation where I had to say to the person, don't even bother. That person is technically competent, capable of doing that job, but character-wise, is not. And therefore, that person will not hear back from them, but might never know why. That's how the world works. And so when you want to live for the moment, just remember that the moment has a voice. And that moment can speak for the next 50 years of your life or 60 years of your life. So choose what you think is right. What is right is always right. It might not be popular at a particular point in time because there are trends in society, but the substance of what is right will always remain. It would always be a good thing to be an honorable person. It might not be popular. You might not be financially rewarded at the moment, but there's a time and a season. Okay, when you read my CV, you said, oh, chairman, first bank, first woman, all of that sounds good. But when I started my business, I had 2 key principles. I said, 1, I was never going to pay a bribe to get a job. 2, I was never going to sleep with a man to get a job. To the ordinary person, I was just some idealistic young woman who couldn't go far with those principles. Well, I stuck to them. I built on them. I built my businesses on them. It became part of my identity, in a sense, that people knew they could trust me or my business to act in a certain way. And over time, the environment in itself had some changes. As corporate governance came into businesses, into the business world, and there was greater demand in the world for corporate governance, it became more important to find people that had certain value system to serve on the boards of companies. Before, it was just about having a big name, but it became more about having a good name and having character and integrity. And at that point, when people are making a short list, you realize that one's name turned up on many lists. And that's how you start getting invitations to serve. And sometimes many people don't realize why they seem competent for something, but they don't get it. Why? Because when the conversation gets to those vital things that we can ignore, but we ignore at our peril, then it shows up and it will count. So live your life with decide what is important. Live for the moment, but with a consciousness of the future. Understanding that the moment is not in isolation. The moment affects the future. That's the way I'd ask you to live. And times and seasons change. So be sure you're current for all seasons by doing the right things whenever you can.
Thank you very much for that, Matt. That was really insightful. And I've made some notes for myself because everything you said really resonates with me. So the next question I have is, you have famously said that if you want your customers to look you in the eye 10 years down the line and still find a good reason to do business with you, you must do something right. Now, I can personally attest that Oxbridge has actually managed to achieve this because almost 10 years ago, I was a student at Oxbridge Tutorial College, and I've come back and I'm a member of staff there. So
Fantastic.
The people on the, thank you. The people on the platform have heard this time and time again from the Oxbridge team, but we'd like to hear it from you. How have you managed to build such a solid brand, both personal and business-wise?
Well, it's about what you do and what you do consistently. And it's about how you do it and how you do it consistently. People like to do business with people they can trust. And people like to do business with people that would keep their word to them and that they're sure will still be there when they need them. So for me and the Chair Center group, it's always been about striving at every point to deliver the most value to the customer for the service they pay, for the service that they're paying us for. And I think the easiest way to look at it is to treat your customer as you would like to be treated, and to ask yourself, if you were in the customer's shoes, what would you really like to be done? In the company, I always say that I'm the customer. I act the role of the customer in the business. Everybody else in the business is responsible for the business, but my responsibility is to act like the customer. And so before the customer sees something, I should see it. Before the customer complains about something, I should have complained about it. Before the customer is unhappy about something, I should have been unhappy about it. That way we can keep ourselves a few steps ahead of the customer. But it's also about relationships. It's about how you make the customer feel. Okay, if you treat your customer right in terms of, especially in a business where you're not willing to compromise. If you're not willing to compromise, pay bribe to get jobs and stuff and all of that, then you have to learn to build relationships, and you have to learn to deliver value to the relationship. You have to create a situation where the customer can trust what they expect from you. all of the time. Now, does that mean you won't miss it sometimes? No, that will not be true, because there are days things will go wrong. But when things go wrong, what do? It's how you respond to it. Do you go into a defensive mode and leave the customer hanging? Or do you own your mistake, own the error, and make it up to the customer in good faith? That, I think, will be good, will be a vital lesson for all of you, because no matter how prepared you are for life, there are days you will mess up. There are mistakes you will make. There are days things will not work right. There are days you would have a fight with your friend and you will be the one that is wrong. There are days you will do things your parents will be upset with you over, and it will be because you did something wrong. But you must be gracious in accepting your mistakes and owning up, apologizing, and making up for your mistake the best that you can. You would find it a good way to approach life. That, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, and that's whether they're younger than you or older than you, you must have the grace to apologize when you're wrong. And it actually draws people to you, because they would know that, look, even when he's wrong, he doesn't play games with you. He will own up, and you would find that they will support you through things.
Thank you very much, Ma. Before we proceed with the other questions, I'd just like to welcome to the platform today Mrs. Mrs. Lamin Kanra. I'm not Yoruba, so I'm terrible at pronouncing Yoruba names.
Lamikora.
Lamikora, yes.
That would be
the
busy.
chairperson, yes, of
Yeah.
ASIN. Thank you so much, Ma, for being with us here today. I'm really sorry about the mispronunciation of the name. Yes, I'm really sorry. Okay, so just to take some questions from the students here today. We've got quite a few, but because of time, I will try and see if we can cover at least 8 of those questions. So
try merge the questions. Maybe
yes.
Ask a few questions at a time, and
okay.
merge the ones that are similar.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so this one person said, and I'll merge it with another one. It says, what if someone doesn't have an end story? Some people like to take it one day at a time. And in a similar light, someone said, as teenagers, we deal with a lot of low points and feel lost or dejected frequently. So my question is, have you ever experienced an intense low point? And if so, how did you get past that and move forward?
Low moments are real, whether you're young or you're old. It's in life, there will always be those moments. But like I was saying, after every night, there's still a morning. And what that tells you is that no low moments last forever. And you must build the right kind of support system around you. I was talking earlier about having the right kind of friends. Why? Because if you have the right kind of friends, they will support you through. So if you're able to talk to your parents, please do. If not, look around you for where you can get the right support. Whether it's an aunt that is closer to your age, or a cousin that is older but that is right thinking, that you can confide in and share your thoughts and your concerns with. Whether it's a teacher that you're drawn towards, that you can understand. It's great to have someone like you back at school, because if you've been a student and you're in the right age group, you've been through what they're going through. For those who are at Oxbridge, it's easier to relate because you're closer in generations, and you can relate, and you would find that it's always helpful to have people that can understand the context of what you're going through and all of that. It's also why I know that a lot of young people are not there yet in terms of building their personal relationship with God, but it does help us as adults to go through our difficult times quite a bit, because you can, even if you can't talk to someone, you can talk to God, and you seek refuge and get some strength, that helps you through all of it. But the thing I want you to hold on to that is most important in terms of dealing with those times is that a lot of those problems are not permanent. So don't solve a temporary problem with a permanent action. If someone, imagine if a young person commits suicide because you're feeling bad about an exam, or feeling bad about the actions of your friends, or feeling bad about something your parents have done. Those are temporary things. They're not permanent things. Your parents might act one kind now, and in another minute or another day or in another week, they're the most loving, most supportive, and all of that. And sometimes you don't even know what they are going through. It might be a challenging time for your parent, but they don't want to bother the children, so they don't talk to you about it and all of that. So you need to find the right kind of support system to help you through temporary situations, because that's all they are. They're temporary, and you can destroy a good future with a temporary situation. Let me give you an example. When I was in university, at a point I was really challenged, and I was a bit frustrated because I'd come out of secondary school really smart, had a grade 1, most outstanding student of the year, got the award at Methodist Girls High School, went into, I'd never failed an exam before in my life. And then I got to university, and somehow, in my first year, they had a prerequisite system. If you failed one subject, automatically you couldn't do certain subjects the next day. I'd never even had to deal with that. And somehow things just went wrong. And I remember that there was a point at which I told my dad that, how? I'm smart, I can do stuff, I've always passed my exam. How am I even in this situation? And one crazy moment, I was like, I don't even want to go to school anymore. This is my story. I'm not telling somebody else's story. I was so upset. I felt so embarrassed. I felt so bad. I felt like people that were half as smart as I am were passing through, and it seemed like I was stuck on something. And I just couldn't handle it for a while. It took the love and the support and the encouragement of my parents to get me through that. And I also then found distractions. I got involved with Junior Chambers International and got very engaged with learning other things about life, businesses, and all of that, and started taking all sort of free electives in another faculty to support me through, because in those other electives, I was getting excellent grades, even better than my chemistry department courses. And that sort of helped to boost my confidence back and helped me to fight through that season until I graduated and I went ahead to live my life. Well, I have made something of my life. Imagine if at that moment, at about your 18 or so right now, imagine if I'd taken the wrong actions or done some wrong things because of a temporary situation. So in life, we will have challenges, and it's part of what you need to prepare yourself to. You could get into university and everything could just go wrong. You could date a guy throughout school, and it seemed like, gosh, you're on your way to the altar, and something just goes wrong and everything falls apart. Well, it's a relationship that falls apart. It's not your life. You could start a job and lose a job. You could get pregnant 3-4 times and lose pregnancies. Many women have gone through that. You could have one child and lose the one child. So life happens. So all of these challenges that you're facing now, there's small doses of practices for life and preparation for life. But the one thing you must always remember, after every night, there's a morning. And no matter how difficult the moment is, find the right support to help you through that moment. because it will be part of your testimony, as it is my testimony today. When I think of, in December last year, I got the university I went to, University of Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University, that gave me an honorary doctorate of business administration. And in my response to them at the graduation ceremony, I said to them, life really is funny, because the place I learned to fail was on this campus. And it really is how life works in a circle. And I went back. I graduated well, but went back to be honored at what is considered a young age with the kind of honor that I was given. So it just tells you that the problems will come, yes, but don't let it drown you, and don't let anything tell you that that problem is final. Find the support, have the right friends, so you have the voices of encouragement when you need it. Speak to your parents, speak to your teachers, find the right support. And if it's going a little deeper, then get the right medical support. Because we've, we've labeled any sort of mental health issues as if it's something negative. No, it's the same as medical health. If you have typhoid or you have COVID, you're going to look for a doctor to help you through. So if you have any kind of mind thoughts and all of that is having deeper impact on your life, you should look for the right kind of medical support as well to help you through. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Ma. Honestly, I hope the students are gaining as much as I am, because I've taken far too many notes. And honestly, this is so engaging. So another question, or a group of questions that was asked, is, what is the right time to start your career? What were some of the challenges that you faced in building your business? And have you experienced any form of discrimination because of your gender, particularly in the earlier stages of building your career and business?
I don't know about if there's a particular time. The timing works out depending on each person's life. If you graduate at 19, which I hope not, because I always say that having a degree doesn't make you ready for the workplace. You need a level of mind maturity in order to cope with all the other factors that are related to a work environment or a business environment. So let's assume you graduate at 21, 22. If you don't necessarily need a master's degree, depending on your field, then there's nothing that stops you from starting whatever kind of career you're trying to pursue. And it'll be different for different people. If you want to be a doctor, obviously you will graduate later, because medical school takes longer and stuff like that. And if you're a lawyer after your degree, you're going to law school, that's another time added. You have your NYC, you want LLM because you want to practice and have additional knowledge for that. So it depends on whatever your own path. At whatever point you get started will depend on where you're going. The important thing is that you choose your path right, and that you get started with it. And that along that path, that you take the right decision to enhance yourself to have advantage in that career. Which means if you go and start working in a bank or someone in another company for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, by your 5th year or so, you want to go to business school. You must have the discipline to take the right decision, to get the necessary knowledge that will support your going into middle management. And getting an MBA will have added value to make you a better generalist, even as you can have specific industry knowledge added. So you must chart a path depending on where you want to go and where you're starting from. So age is not an issue. I don't know, some people might graduate later. If you've gone to a Nigerian university and they have university closures and all of that, you might graduate at 25. you know. But the bottom line is by 25, somebody else might have had 4 years of working experience already. So how do you organize yourself? If you're in that situation, part of what you want to do is within those years that universities are closing and all of that, you're gaining additional knowledge, you're gaining job experience with internships, with volunteering and all of those things. So you're building a CV and a record and you're actually learning. And if it's business, then obviously, I don't think there's any age that you can't start a business. But I also think that if you have some working experience in an organization, it sort of helps you to see how businesses, organizations are structured, and it helps you to have some network in the workplace and also take some human interaction learning that can influence your ability to build a business. Now, I didn't have much of it, but I still did have my youth corps year at work and the 3.5 months of working in that company before I started mine. So that might be enough in some case, but I'm sure that I feel that the best entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs that have had some corporate exposure. It does enhance their ability to have the discipline to build a business in a structured manner going forward. I didn't do much of it, but it just worked out for me. But if I'm pitching for the best route, I would say get some work experience first. It enhances your ability to succeed in your business. And don't lose sight of the fact that only 3 out of every 10 new businesses survive. 6 to 7 of new businesses, global statistics, will tend to die within the first 3 years. Now, you enhance those numbers by having increased knowledge and awareness of what is required for a business to survive. And having some sort of corporate work experience allows you to be better prepared to build a business. And also, if you have your first 2, 3, 4 years of career, it also helps you to determine if your initial starting career is really the career you want to stay in. Because sometimes we have this romantic idea of what an industry or a business area is like. But when we get in there, we then find out that it's not really what we want. Like me, when I talked about thinking I wanted to be a chartered accountant, making sure I went to work at Akintola Williams and Co. And within that 1 year, I realized, gosh, I hate this. But I worked so hard to get there, you know, and I was so sure that that's what I wanted to do. Throughout university, I took free electives from my second year to my final year in Faculty of Administration and Accounting, because I had already concluded by then, okay, I will get my chemistry degree, but I would gain as much knowledge in accounting and administration as possible so I can go and pursue, become a chartered accountant and go and work in account. When I finally got there, after investing all those years, taking all those electives, I hated it. So there are a lot of surprises waiting for you. So some of your dream careers will not pan out. It will not be as you thought that they would be. But at least it would cure you of that particular thing. You would know that, okay, been there, done that, not interested. And usually every route that you follow in life has a real influence. There will be things you will pick up from there that will support the other place that you would go to. So take whatever opportunities you can get started with and learn from it, but don't lose sight of where you want to go. And from there, organize yourself in the direction of where you want to go. No knowledge is lost. No opportunity is lost. Every opportunity adds something to you, whether it's to show you what you don't like or to give you skills that you will celebrate in the things that you will do in future. So a lot of your decisions will be dependent on your personal route.
Thank you, Ma. And then another question, which kind of piggybacks off of most of what you've said already, but in a different direction, is about someone, how do you deal with conflicting ideas? And then someone said, how do you cope when your parents want you to study one course and you are interested in studying something else? So if we can just have those two together.
Okay, I'll start with the second question. This is where I always get into trouble with the parents, because I always apologize to the parents first. So if there are parents on the line, I apologize to you for what I'm about to say. But if you're already at the stage where you need to choose your course, honestly, my honest opinion, and I'm known for telling it as I know it to be, is it's your life, it's your future. Nobody knows you like you. Sometimes as parents, we have unfulfilled dreams and we want to live the rest of our dreams through our children. But also sometimes your parents can see your strengths that you might be ignoring because you're caught up in a trend of what you and your friends all think you should study. So you need both. You need a balance of both. You need to critically examine yourself and your own interests. Examine your talents and your skills. Examine your strengths and where you think it can take you, and identify the reason why you think that is the right course for you, and make your pitch to your parents the best you can. And at the end of the day, you fill your own university application anyway. Have a good conversation with your parents the best you can and try and get them on your side. Take them one by one. Usually that works better. Discuss with your mother first. If you get her on your side, half the battle is won. And then you can explain to your dad. But give them real justification for why that particular course should be the option of choice. And reality is, it is your life and you're accountable for it. But the question is, are you willing to take responsibility for it? Because if you are taking responsibility for it, you will do everything to fight for what you want to cause within reason, still considering everything your parents are saying. Consider all and then reach a conclusion. All the counsel you will get is information. The decision is critically yours. But sometimes, depending on our circumstance, we do what our parents want us to do first. We get the degree they want, and then we give them the certificate, and we can go on and live our lives in the area of the field that we want to. I know how many people went to school to get a law degree because their parents wanted them to be lawyers. And after getting the degree, they go ahead to become artists or something and just do what they've always wanted to do. But to keep peace with the parents, but I just think that the time spent pursuing interests that we don't have can be spent mastering the interests that we have. And a lot of times it can move us miles away. It's a different time and a different season. And many careers that we didn't think had much value. A lot of times parents are worried about your sustainability. They think some careers do not have economic value that can support you, which is why they try to shift you in certain areas or shift you in areas that will make you able to support their businesses in future. Well, our businesses are ours and not yours. My kids have no obligation whatsoever to be involved in the Chess Center group because it's my dream, it's not theirs. And they have the liberty and the right to express themselves according to their own interest. That's what I hope we can all seek. But don't ever forget that parents mean well. The goal is always to protect you the best way we know how. And sometimes our knowledge is limited. Now, the first question was what? You're muted.
Yes, sorry, man. The first question was about dealing with conflicting ideas, which I guess is like knowing what to do and when to do it and all of that. But if I can just add a little bit to that, because something's just coming that's related to that. Someone has asked, how do you know what you're good at? How do you know what you're talented at and what you like? how have you been able to discover that? Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you say you have conflicting ideas or trying to discover yourself, I think there's it's revealed in our journey in many different ways. Let's start from, if like me, you're good at arts and you're good at sciences, the general trend in life is that they sentence you to science. Why? Because there's a mental assumption by parents and people that science is superior to arts. So if you're good at arts and you're good at science, but if anybody had bothered to check at the fact that I'm a social science person, if you combine, I'm good at arts, I'm good in economics and all of that, your personality, if you combine your personality with the subjects at school that you're good at, you begin to see the trends of what kind of career interests you might have. So why would anybody have thought that chemistry was the right thing for me to do in any way? So maybe that has helped me in some ways in the mixing of stuff in my furniture factory. But outside of that, I don't see what value is added to me. But the biggest thing I took out of science was having the mind of a scientist, which is very critical in the work of an entrepreneur. The way you look at things with an analytical mindset is helpful. So if you have conflicting interests, what you need to do is spend some time with yourself. And I'm a firm believer in a pen and paper, or on your laptops or on your phone. Write down everything about one. Write down everything about the other. Then take each one by one and consider all the points around the interest. And see between A of one and A of the other, what do you prefer? What appeals to your general interest more? Play them against each other and have a middle point where you're writing your results of competing options. By the time you consider all the factors of one and all the factors of the other and see which one wins against the other, you will in some way have an answer as to which one you have an overriding interest in. It's like saying, oh, I have multiple talents. Yes, you might have multiple talents, but you're not best at all those talents. So you need to sit down and have an honest conversation in terms of, I like doing this, I can do this, but do I love doing it? I can do this one as well, but it's more engaging for my mind. I find it more exciting. I can do it for much longer without feeling tired or feeling bored. Or considering where I live or my circumstance, what I can afford or what opportunities are available around me, this is more viable than the other. So after you've considered the options of the different options that you have, after you've considered the options, you must then have what I call a viability test, which is viable, considering what you can afford, what opportunities you have, and all the resources that are available to you. That, in a way, will help you to decide which way to go. Because there are many people that have multiple talents, but they're not best at all of those talents. And play to your strength. Some of those other ones might be add-ons later, but play to your primary strength first. Build on it, and then you can have additions from your softer strengths.